This is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the ROG Harpe Aim Lab edition, which features this utterly pointless UV logo for Aim Lab on the side that ROG even sent me a little torch for so I could show it off. But that is a hint at what is awesome about this mouse and one of the features that might make it interesting, because it works with Aim Lab's settings optimizer to improve your overall experience. But more on that in a minute. This is essentially a pro-grade gaming mouse, which is a competitor to things like the Logitech Superlight. But under the hood, it also packs in some really impressive specs with up to 36,000 DPI, 650 max IPS, and 50 Gs acceleration. Also is designed to be fantastic for gaming naturally, with some really serious specs, and also other highlights that include 2.4 GHz and Bluetooth with the option to pair with up to 3 different devices. As you can see from multiple angles, it's also really nice looking, although normally you can't see that Aim Lab logo, so that's questionable. But what's awesome about it is that when you dive into Aim Lab, which is a free bit of software that you can download to train your aim, you can go into the settings optimizer. Now, this is a tool specifically that allows you to tweak your settings in a variety of ways. You can see sensitivity, mouse DPI, angle tuning, and more. You have to run through various training programs, which, by the way, take ages. It's like 10 minutes per session, and that then give you the results to optimize your mouse. So you can see here, for example, that Aim Lab is suggesting that my DPI should be 800. That's put it through various different tests. It's interesting to me because I usually have it at around 1,200 to 1,600 is my preference, but apparently I'll get good at 800, so I'm going to try that out now. Now, you can apply those settings automatically, or you can do it from the hardware, and you can adjust the DPI obviously on the mouse. On the underside, you'll see that there's the ability to do that. But in the box, you'll also find USB-C cable, obviously some grip tape, which you'll see in a minute, and underneath the ability to switch between wireless and Bluetooth. Now, quick note about wireless, I found that the signal range is actually a little bit lackluster, depending on how far it is from your PC, but there's an extender dongle in there that you'll see that you can connect up that I'll show you in a second. But what I found is if you have it at like 4 feet away from your PC, you're going to struggle with the signal. Probably a bit niche problem, but worth bearing in mind. On the underside, little PTFE feet, and obviously the dongle sits in its own little dock, so convenient storage there for that. Now, this mouse, as soon as I got it out of the box, is immediately comparable to the Superlight. As I said, I'm going to do a video separately to talk about the differences between those, but it's very understated. You'll notice there's only one RGB zone on the mouse wheel, which is obviously customizable, but that is also beneficial because it means that it improves the battery life. A fairly decent battery life out of here, about 90 hours is the claim, and obviously you then got USB-C charging for the convenience of that. That little RGB zone will also let you know when the battery's running low, though, because it changes color and flashes red. So as standard, that's really handy. So it's well thought out in a number of different ways. Now, sadly, this mouse doesn't feature optical switches, but it does have ROG's own micro switches, and they're designed to hold up with that deviation and be pleasant to use. And I'll give you a sound test of that in a second. But here you can see, as I was saying, the little dongle basically plugs in to your cable if you need to. So if you want to get a range a bit closer, you want to put that dongle closer, plug the USB-A end of the cable into your PC, USB-C into the adapter, the wireless dongle into that, and put it nearby where your mouse is, and then you have decent signal out of it. Otherwise, a really accurate mouse. It's been a lot of fun to play around with, and it was interesting for the highlights of things like that Aim Lab setup. But you'll also see the sort of size and shape of it. Now, this has been designed apparently with eSports players and pros, and to work on the crafting of it to come up with this ambidextrous design. At least that's the claim. I always find it a bit odd when they claim ambidextrous and then only put the side buttons on the left-hand side. For me, that's for right-handed gamers, right? But tell me what you think if you're a lefty. And this basically means that it has a good setup for apparently claw grippers. Now, I'm a palm gripper, as you've seen from these shots, and I found it perfectly comfortable and usable. It comes in at around 56, 55 grams, some little variation in there, obviously with the dongle off, a little bit lighter. And I'll show you in a second that even when you apply the grip tape, it doesn't get much heavier. So it's certainly comparable with some of the really light wireless gaming mice out there that I've tried, and the fact that it's both Bluetooth and wireless and has a decent battery life in there, but still manages to have that weight without having a honeycomb shell is pretty impressive. It's also nice looking and a good solid build quality from what I've seen, and from the clicks that you'll see in a minute, also satisfying to use. It doesn't seem to have any sort of problems in terms of the build quality or the overall design. Naturally, it does lack other things, and there are some frustrations for me. Personally, for example, I don't really like having the DPI button on the underside. That's an annoyance. But I think with that AimLab software, obviously you can work out what the best settings are for the mouse, then apply them, and then in theory you don't have to mess with them between different games. But you can see that you have a couple of buttons on the underside, one for pairing different Bluetooth devices, so you can pair up to 3 different devices, and one for switching DPI. Again, the RGB actually changes on the wheel to let you know what DPI level you're in, and there's a notification in Windows via the Armoury Crate software as well, so you will get notified when things happen. Now, on the face of it, it doesn't look that exciting when you first get it out of the box, but in a second I'm going to show you the grip tape addition to it. But here I want to show how it fits in the hand. So you've obviously seen the size of my hand already, but here you can see the sort of shape of it. You have a little bit of grip there. It has a matte finish to it, so it is fairly easy to grip. I don't think the grip tape is necessarily essential, which is pretty nice. It does have some ridging, as you can see, along the edges. Now I'm going to be quiet for a second so you can hear some of the click sounds. We'll stick around to see some more in a second. Included in the box is this little packet which has grip tape and extra feet in it, which is a nice addition because it means that you can swap out the underside feet if they do get worn out over time, replace them to smooth things up. But also the grip tape's really funky. As you can see here, it has the Republic of Gamers sort of styling to it for those who dare to use a super ultra lightweight mouse. And I am unfortunately awkward and clumsy when it comes to installing grip tape. But the good news is if you two have the same issue, you can peel it off and put it back on again. So here's a couple of shots of me putting it on and the difference that it can make. Now, I think this actually adds a nice bit of style. It has some nice texturing to it as well, which isn't immediately obvious, but it adds a little bit more grip to it now. As I said, this has a matte body already, so it is fairly grippy. But if you do find that your hands are really oily or really sweaty when you're gaming, then this addition's really nice and it's pretty easy to do. And also it stands out from others. Usually with grip tape, you don't get any sort of extra design changes to it. Just have a casual black grip tape that really doesn't change the look and feel of the mouse very much, whereas this one really snazzes it up a bit and adds to that overall vibe. I actually think it makes it look a lot nicer personally, but this is a personal preference. And then you have a mouse that is easy to use even if you've got really sweaty hands. The other bonus here is that it doesn't add that much extra weight, marginally if any. You can see it's barely changed. It's fluctuating now between 55 and 56 grams. So it's about an extra gram or maybe less than that, some sort of variance. But overall, a fantastic mouse. Now this is definitely a competitor for one of the best ultra lightweight mice around, in my opinion. I do think some of the design things are a bit stupid. What's the point in that AimLab logo? And you could argue that maybe the settings optimizer is a bit of a gimmick. However, I actually think that's really worthwhile because it highlights things that you might not even have thought of. You might have stuck to using the same sort of logic with every mouse that you try. I certainly have. And now this could open your eyes to a whole new way of doing things.
You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos. You might well find them interesting or useful. And most importantly, have a great life.